This is not a test. This is your emergency broadcast system announcing the commencement of Phatts TV, sanctioned by PA Phatts and the non-genetically proven son. Any and all words have been authorized during the show. There is nothing off limits. Nobody is restricted from watching and participating in the show. It is a free-for-all. Commencing at the siren, any and all discussions will be legal for an extended period of time. Sports, politics, and any and all controversial topics will be talked about. You have been warned. May God be with us all.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Phatts TV on this Friday night, January 13th. Oh, Friday the 13th. Hope it's lucky for you. Joining me in the upper left-hand portion of the screen, as always, looks like he just left his shift at the Waffle House. The one and the only non-genetically proven son. Now, no one knows what that means because the screen is cut off, So stand up for a second, and yeah, he's got his Waffle House. So, how was your shift?
I didn't have a shift at the Waffle House. We don't have a Waffle House up here.
I've seen a lot of videos of fights at the Waffle House.
I probably enjoy working at the Waffle House. Probably some good food.
Yeah,
I mean, it is good food.
Yeah.
For very cheap.
One time in Virginia, really late at night, I was challenged to an eating contest.
To a guy like double your size.
By a drunk guy. And by double, meaning not fat, meaning like height. And like he had arms like pythons, but he was well wasted or drunk or something. And he challenged me to an eating contest. Which I politely declined.
So now I can't eat that much.
That's what I said. Nah, I don't really eat that much. And it was like 1 a.m. Like I just wanted like a couple eggs, toast, home fries. But yeah, challenged me to an eating contest.
I found this for like $4.
And now it's come full circle. My non-genetically proven offspring now works at the Waffle House.
Hey, for $4, this thing's comfy.
So this is one of my favorite episodes of the year, our NFL playoff preview show, where we have a lot of fun. We got a few different contests that we do. But before we get into the NFL, we got a football game to wrap up last Monday, and it's not going to take us long to go through it.
Wasn't much of a game, was it?
Georgia took TCU out to the woodshed. That used to be a terminology back in the 80s. Whoa, Nelly! Forget what that guy's name is. I'd have to think about that for a minute. Took him out to the woodshed. He did what Biden wants to do to Trump. Beat him up.
So, it's one of those, if this game happened week 2 of the season, Georgia would have been a 35-point favorite.
28, yeah.
30. TCU was 5-7 last year.
Yeah.
Versus the reigning national champions, 35 points.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you would have told me at the end of the season TCU was going to play them, I would have laughed at you.
Of course, yeah.
But if you would have told me right before the game it's going to be 60-7, I would be like, honestly, I'm not surprised. I hope it's not, but
yeah.
If it was, I'm like, yeah, it's probably about right. Because is TCU truly the second best team in the country? No, probably not.
Yeah,
but they did beat Michigan.
Georgia surely brought their A game.
Yeah.
TCU surely didn't bring their A game. It happens. But you still got to applaud TCU on a great season. I mean, they did beat Michigan the week before. Yes, they scored 2 pick sixes and stuff. So we move on to next season now for college football. But we're going to talk about that later. Not tonight. Tonight is all about the NFL, baby, and the playoffs. Playoffs?
Playoffs.
So
What's up?
there's a lot of things that we got to go over here. We're going to make our picks a little later, towards the end of the show. We're going to make a pick on the side of each game, and we're going to give you one other play. Think of it as probably prop plays. I hope we don't have the same prop plays. But you never know.
Maybe one of the games we might.
Maybe. We're also going to give you our playoff bracket. And something that we started with season 1 of Phatts TV. We pick who's, one person starts, they pick a team, then the other person gets 2 picks, and then the first person gets 2 picks. The other person gets 2 picks. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. That's going to be the first contest thing that we pick. But let's start with the game. So, what game do you think is probably going to be the most exciting one? I'm sorry?
Give me one second. All right. What game do I think is going to be the most exciting?
Yes.
I think it could be 2. I think it's argued 2. I think the first one jumps out is the Jaguars and the Chargers.
Jacksonville and the LA Chargers.
2 mid teams. I think Jacksonville did win the division.
They did.
But I feel like that's the one of 2 matchups that the teams are fairly even.
They did play each other early in the season. I believe it was week 3, and Jacksonville kicked the living hell out of the Chargers. Not that matters. And what's your other game?
The Giants and the Vikings.
The Giants and the Vikings could be a very interesting game. They played on Christmas Eve. The Vikings winning at the buzzer on a 61-yard field goal, I believe it was.
Yeah.
That could be a very interesting game as well. What do you think of the Dallas-Tampa Bay game?
Well, Dallas has never beaten Tom Brady. I believe they're 0-7.
That is true.
So I said that I think on the last show. I said take that as you want.
Yep.
Doesn't really much mean anything. I think it's just kind of more of an anomaly.
Yep.
I mean, before, they would have to play each other once every, 4 years or whatever, however it would work.
Well, for sure they would have. But
Tom Brady in England, he didn't beat him much. He didn't lose a lot anyways.
Yes. They did play the last 2 years on opening night, both years.
So, take it how you may.
Yeah.
And pretty sure the Bucks have a decent amount of injuries.
They do. Here's an interesting stat. The last time Dallas won a road playoff game was before you were born.
Last time they don't make the playoffs very often. So
it's been 30 years since they won a road playoff game.
Okay.
30 years. Lot of injuries out there. San Francisco's starting a third-string quarterback. Miami's starting a third-string quarterback. Baltimore is probably starting a third-string quarterback. So that's going to water down some things. There could be a lot of rain during the San Francisco game. I've heard two weather forecasts for that game. It's going to be rainy and windy. And then I also heard where the rain is expected to stop not long before the game starts. So we'll have to see which one of those happen.
Josh says even I can't see Dallas winning. I think the last time the Cowboys won a road game was 92.
That would be 30 years ago.
Good job, Josh.
Well, he might have started typing that before I said it.
Probably.
Yeah.
But it looks funny to us.
Yes, it does. It does look funny. So some of the games could be a blowout. The potential is there for blowouts.
Sure, but the potential is there for some upsets, too.
There is some potential for some upsets. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, we had a little contest last week.
We did.
To see who gets the choice of how they wanted to pick.
Correct.
Starting tonight. So we had to pick all the games straight up, not against the points. And we had to put confidence points next to each one. Well, we only differed on 2 games.
Right.
We do, when it comes to sports, you and I do tend to think a lot alike.
I mean, that would make sense since
Yes.
we talk about the games sometimes. Yes. So.
Yes. And of those 2 games, you won them both, by the way.
Let's go! And then the games that we both lost, you had a lot more higher confidence points.
Right. I mean, but I did say Seattle was going to lose, and they should have lost that game.
They should have lost.
They should have lost that game. So, interestingly enough, I think if they won, I think you still would have beat me by like 2 points. So here's how this is going to work. We have not talked all week. He has not given me his decision about who's picking first.
Right.
Now, for those of you that are regular watchers of this show, I have been saying since week 6 who is winning the Super Bowl.
Right.
So, if he makes me pick first, he should know who I'm planning on picking.
Unless he's been bluffing me for 18 weeks.
Unless I'm going to throw a curveball at him. Which you never know.
You can ask my girlfriend. I've been thinking about what order I want this to go all week. All week. I'll sit there in bed at 10 o'clock, go into bed, I'm like, all right, if I do this, he does that, or I do this.
See, now, I think this is really, if I had won, I knew right away who was making the first choice.
It may not have been if I wanted to go first or second, but it's what teams do I think you're going to pick? And then what teams do I want? How do I get those specific teams?
Right. Well, I can tell you right now, there's 2 teams that I want.
Yeah?
The only way I'm getting those 2 teams is if I go second and you don't pick the one team I want. You know, you decide to go first. So you decide to go first. You're going to take Miami if you go first. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
No doubt in my mind.
Green Bay.
Yes, he has been constantly thinking about figuring out what to do. I could say something, but I'm not. Doing a little doggy style, and then you just stop and if I... you start riding on her back. If I take this team, we're not going to go there. We're not going to go there. So, yes. I mean, I'm pretty sure you're going to pick Miami if you take the first pick because, that's what you do. And then that will give me the 2 teams that I want. Obviously, if you give me the first pick, I'm obviously going to take one of the 2 teams that I want.
Right.
I mean, I have my bracket, obviously. I mean, there should also be 2 teams you want. Because you should have your Super Bowl matchup should be the 2 teams you want.
Right.
Unless if you're really confused on one of the games. But before we get to that, so that's a little tease, I want to talk about one thing first.
Okay.
So I'm going to make you sweat a little bit longer. I want to talk about how the Cincinnati Bengals are getting fucked over by the NFL in these playoffs.
Okay.
Now, with that being said, let me say the NFL for the Cincinnati Bengals is following their rules. So, in one sense, they're not really fucking them over, but because they decided to do something else with a couple other teams, Cincinnati is getting fucked over.
Right.
Okay? So the rule is, in the NFL, if a game gets canceled and not made up, for seeding purposes for the playoffs, you're supposed to take the team's winning percentage.
Right.
Okay? So, if they follow the rules, Kansas City would be the number 1 seed, Buffalo would be the number 2 seed, Cincinnati would be the number 3 seed. Just like they are. But they threw in a little caveat in there that if Kansas City plays Buffalo, it's going to be at a neutral site. And where's that neutral site? They announced it yesterday.
Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta.
Atlanta. Interesting place. So basically, if it's Kansas City Buffalo, they want first team to 65 wins the game.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because let's put 2 offensive teams indoors on a fast track.
Right.
They want to score fest in that game. Take the over in every quarter, and just be done with it now. So, how are they screwing Cincinnati? Well, shouldn't the Cincinnati-Buffalo game be at a neutral site? If Cincinnati beats Buffalo, they're the 2 seed. They would have had the same record, but the first tiebreaker is head-to-head. They would have had the same record. If, by the way, if Buffalo had beaten Cincinnati, they would be the number 1 seed. Because they would have had the same record as Kansas City, and they beat Kansas City this year.
Right.
So that's why they're making that a neutral site game. So why not make Cincinnati-Buffalo a neutral site game? Why are you making Cincinnati go on the road when you're going to make Buffalo play at a neutral site game? That's pretty fucked up if you ask me. That's really fucked up if you ask me. And I understand the NFL could change the rules on the fly. They can do whatever they want. They're a monopoly. I get it. But if you're going to do for one, you got to do for the other. Only because if Cincinnati wins that game, they're the 2 seed.
It's because it was a Buffalo player that got hurt. If it was a Cincinnati player that got hurt, probably talking a different story.
Mate, are you sure?
Maybe.
I mean, do you think Cincinnati's getting screwed over? Only because, and again, it's only because Kansas City Buffalo would be on a neutral field. If Kansas City Buffalo would have to be played in Kansas City because the NFL follows its own rules, then I don't have a problem with this.
Well, yeah, Cincy's got to go get their butt cold. It's Buffalo.
If it's cold in Buffalo next week.
It's always cold in Buffalo.
You know what? On this Saturday or Sunday, whenever the game is supposed to be 32 degrees. That's not bad for Buffalo at this time of the year.
Mountains of snow there.
Not on the field.
Yeah, but who wants to go to Buffalo?
Certainly not I. So what do you guys think? I mean, seriously. Do you guys think Cincinnati is getting screwed here? Bueller?
Kiana says yes.
Okay.
I heard her mumble.
You heard her mumble.
Yes, I'm making fun of you. Yes, I want to fight.
Okay, then. Okay. All right. Let me know if anybody puts anything in the message board, because I'm looking something up right now. I think nobody's putting anything in the message board.
No. Y'all are lame.
You sons of bitches. All right. On to contest time.
On to contest.
So, you get the choice. And I did tell you during the week that after you picked, I would tell you if I had the choice who would be picking first.
Okay.
So, go ahead. After sweating it out all week, trying to figure out, you burned some burgers at the Waffle House, screwed up some orders, you made some scrambled eggs, sunny side up and sunny side up, poached at your shift at the Waffle House. Who's going first?
You are not going first.
You are going first.
Yes.
Really?
Really?
I would have chosen the exact same thing. I would have chosen for you to go first. So, let's get a sheet of paper here. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now this either means you really want the team that you expect me to take, or you're afraid that I've been screwing around with you and am going to take the team that you really want. It's one or the other. Which is it?
Well, no. I'll take it.
No. What are you afraid of?
So wait, what were my two options again?
So either you are afraid that I would take the team that you want because I've been screwing around with you, or you know who I'm picking first and you really want that team.
Probably more. It's a little bit of both, I guess.
All right, and your pick is
Kansas City.
Kansas City. Thank you. Because that's what I was hoping you would have taken.
You're welcome.
Because my Super Bowl matchup, gonna clue you in a little later down the line. Hint, hint, what you're going to see later. I am taking San Francisco, and I am taking Buffalo.
Oh, you took the exact two teams I wanted to take. Thank you.
So now you're taking Cincinnati. And who else? Philly.
Kansas City and Philly. You can't sit here and tell me those two teams do not have the easiest road to the NFC and the AFC championships.
No, I can't say that. For Philly, I can't say that.
Okay.
I can't say that depending upon who wins.
Because my big thing was my whole deliberation this week was who's he gonna pick? The 49ers and Cincy, the 49ers and Buffalo. I wanted Cincy. But I wasn't gonna pick them first because they're gonna have to beat Buffalo of all probability. So I had to hopefully get them second.
I completely understand your Kansas City pick. They have an easy road to the championship game. Easy road. Philly doesn't. So, what was this trap you were telling me about that you were hoping that I would do?
49ers, Philly. I didn't want you to take my two favorite teams in the NFC. And then leave me with just the three AFC teams.
Oh, so you were afraid I was going to take San Fran and Philly.
Yeah, and then basically leave me with nothing in the NFC.
There was no chance I was going to do that because then you would have the three best AFC teams.
So it would just come down to who wins the Super Bowl.
And you're going to see when we get to the stats, hint, hint, the AFC has a much easier chance of winning the Super Bowl, in my opinion, when we get to some stats later. But I fully agree Kansas City has the easiest path to the AFC Championship game. Fully agree. I'm not so sure Philly does. If Tampa Bay, so if it's chalk, in the NFC this week. So you have Philly 1, Minnesota, San Francisco 2, Minnesota 3, Tampa Bay 4. I think Philly beats Tampa kind of easily.
My big thing is I don't think the 49ers are going to go into Philly. I don't trust the third string quarterback. I don't care how good his team is. Yeah, it might be one of the best, other than quarterbacks, teams in recent history.
Mm-hmm.
But you still need a quarterback that's capable of winning an NFC Championship game.
Yes. So, I think Dallas and the Giants would have a better chance of beating Philly than Tampa Bay does. That's not to say that either of those teams are going to win this weekend.
Right.
But so I think San Francisco potentially has the easier path to the NFC Championship game than Philly does unless Philly plays Tampa. Because I think San Francisco will roll over Minnesota if they play Minnesota. Sorry, Minnesota fans. Sorry, my buddy Eric, if you're watching. Your team gets rolled if they have to go to San Francisco. Which is why I was rooting so badly for San Francisco to get up to that number 2 seed. So they get that second home game.
Yeah.
If they had to go to Minnesota, I still think they would have won the game, but it would have been a lot harder. They will... I mean, they may not win the game by 30, but they could win that game by double digits at home.
Right.
Okay. So, there's really nobody else left to take.
I like 2 more teams.
So, now we get into teams that have flaws.
Yeah.
My natural reaction here is to take Dallas, but Dallas is going to have to win, of all probability, 3 road games to make it to the Super Bowl. I don't see that happening. Sorry, Josh. I just don't see that happening. To me, it becomes hard after this. So, I don't see Jacksonville doing anything. So, I will take, for lack of a team, I will take the LA Chargers at this point. And I will take Tampa Bay.
Damn you. That's that was my next team I wanted.
Tampa?
Yes.
Tampa doesn't win. If they get lucky to beat Dallas, they don't go to Philly to win. Or San Francisco.
All right.
So it really doesn't matter.
I will take the G-Men. I'll take Jacksonville.
All right. Well, since Dallas is still on the board, I got to take them at this point.
You have Dallas.
So we're left with Miami, Seattle,
the Vikings and the Ravens.
So I got to take Minnesota then at that point too.
You have them.
So Baltimore, Seattle, or Miami.
You can have Miami. No, you know what? You can have Seattle. I'll take Miami. Just in case Tua decides to somehow magically play.
That's not a bad idea. All right. So you have Kansas City, Cincinnati, Philly, Giants, Jacksonville, Baltimore, Miami. So you have 5 of the 7 AFC teams.
Correct.
I have San Francisco, Buffalo, the Chargers, Tampa, Dallas, Minnesota, Seattle. I have 5 of the NFC teams. Advantage Daniel when it comes to who's got the better conference. For sure. So what do you guys think? Who would you guys have taken first? So when you and I were talking earlier, I said I had one major concern with San Francisco.
Going to Philly?
A stat that I uncovered last night. All right. So one of
They
the
don't.
Go ahead.
They don't win NFC Championship games unless it's in Green Bay. Then they do.
I mean, all right. So number one, no rookie quarterback has ever won the Super Bowl. By the way,
Really?
Dan Marino got there as a rookie, and they lost, and he never got back, which is
Tom
very
Brady
interesting.
wasn't a rookie?
No, he was in his second year,
Oh.
or even third year, but he was not a rookie.
Oh.
In fact, the year that he won it, he wasn't even the starter. Come week 1, he got in there because Drew Bledsoe got injured.
That's why I thought he was a rookie.
Yeah,
And
nope,
he wasn't the starter, and then he came in and shined.
nope. So, one of the things, and I brought this up last year on this show, one of the good betting trends for this week of the playoffs, just this week, is to bet on the team who had a harder strength of schedule during the year. They tend to cover. They don't always win, of course, but they tend to cover. And they tend to cover at a really good percentage if they are more than 10 slots higher than the team that they're playing. So, for example, let's just assume for a moment the New York Jets made the playoffs. They had the number 1 strength of schedule in the league this year.
Wow.
Yeah. Miami is the number 2 team. So, by rights, just as a simple bet, you would want to take the Jets against the spread. Not necessarily to win the game, but against the spread. But if they were playing a team, let's just say Kansas City, who has the, I believe it's number 16 strength of schedule. Yes, 16. Then you really want to take the Jets. Of the last, I think it's 42 games, when there's more than 10 spots, the team with the harder strength of schedule has covered 31. It's 31-9-2, I believe, over the last 42 games. Now that's a trend.
Interesting.
That's a trend. So, who had the easiest strength of schedule this year? We've been saying, I've been saying why Philadelphia isn't going to win this year because they had such an easy schedule.
It's either them or the Vikings. Or San Fran.
How many teams are there in the NFL?
32.
32. So there are 3 teams that made the playoffs who had number 30, 31, and 32 strength of schedule.
The 49ers, the Vikings, Philly.
They are those 3 teams.
The 49ers had the 32.
Yep.
The Vikings had 31, the Eagles had 30.
Nope, flip them.
Okay.
According to the Sagarin ratings. Now, I don't know how they come up with their strength of schedule.
The 49ers division's terrible.
It is.
And last year I had them all making the playoffs. Every single one of those 4 teams I had making the playoffs. And now this year we're flipping it. The NFC East was like the juggernaut.
Yes.
Yeah, now.
So here is the teams that made the playoffs strength of schedule. We'll start with the AFC. And I'll go from hardest to easiest. Okay? Miami had the second hardest schedule in the NFL this year. Baltimore had the third hardest schedule in the NFL this year. Cincinnati was 7th. Kansas City 16th. Buffalo 17th. Chargers 22nd. Jacksonville 27th.
Josh says he would have grabbed Buffalo first. Kansas City is a good pick. Can't go wrong either way. I don't like Buffalo. They blow too many games. And they can't beat Kansas City.
Well, no, Feds, you blow too when you need rent money. Ah! At the Waffle House.
At the Waffle House, yeah.
All right. So, here is the NFC strength of schedule. Tampa Bay, 13th. The next hardest, Seattle at 24. Giants, 26. Dallas, 29. So you actually had 29, 30, 31, and 32 as 4 of the 7 teams that made the playoffs in the NFC. Dallas is 29. Minnesota is 30. Philly is 31. San Francisco is 32.
That's funny.
You want to know why I think the AFC has the better chance of winning the Super Bowl this year? If you made me pick first, I would have still taken San Francisco only because I've been saying it for 10 weeks or more.
You've been saying it for longer.
I've been saying it for longer than that.
Basically.
Since about week 4 or week 5, I've been saying it.
Yeah, when they're like 2-2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're gonna win a Super Bowl.
I've been saying it since then. Yep. So I couldn't change it now, but trust me, I think the NFL has stacked the deck for Buffalo. Putting Buffalo, Kansas City at a neutral site. Letting Buffalo have the home game against Cincinnati. To me, they're stacking the deck for Buffalo. Just my opinion. Just my opinion. So let's look at some odds. Now, these odds were as of Wednesday. All right? Who do you think is the favorite?
Kansas City.
Kansas City at 3.3 to 1. Followed by Buffalo at 3.9 to 1. San Francisco is third at 4.5 to 1. Philly is fourth at 5.25 to 1. Cincinnati is fifth at 8.5 to 1. To me, that's great value. To me, that's really good value. Then you get into Dallas at 13 to 1. Then another one that I think has good value. 2 more that have good value. Chargers at 24 to 1. I think that's good value. Then you have Minnesota at 32 to 1. Sorry. You have Tampa Bay at 29 to 1. Minnesota at 32 to 1. Interesting, Tampa Bay is more of a favorite than Minnesota is.
Kind of funny.
Then you got Baltimore at 43 to 1. Jacksonville at 44 to 1. The Giants at 58 to 1. Miami at 68 to 1. And Seattle at 73 to 1. Interesting. All right. So let's move on to our bracket.
Yeah.
So, do you want to go through conference first, or do you want to go round by round? You tell me.
We'll go round by round.
Round by round. All right? Start with AFC or NFC?
AFC.
AFC. All right. So, which game you got first?
Buffalo, Miami.
Buffalo, Miami, the 2 seed versus the 7 seed. I have Buffalo winning that game.
Buffalo.
Not very hard to predict.
No. If Tua can figure out how to play, it can be closer.
It would be a lot closer.
Buffalo would still win, though.
I don't know. I tell you what, if Tua was playing, I'd certainly take Miami against the spread.
I think everybody would. It's 14 points.
Well, it wouldn't be 14 if they announced Tua was playing.
No, probably about half.
All right. The 3-6 seed, Baltimore and Cincinnati. Cincinnati has won, I believe, 8 in a row.
Going to be 9.
Cincinnati. Now, they just played last week. Cincinnati won by 11. I believe it was 27-16, if I remember correctly. I have Cincinnati as well. Jacksonville, LA Chargers, the 4-5 game. I think this is going to be a great game to watch, personally.
Of 2 mid teams, yeah.
Yeah.
I have Jacksonville.
I do as well. Because of the injury, the stupid injury that should have never happened for the Chargers. Why they played the starters as long as they did last week when they couldn't go up or down.
Who's injured?
Is it whoever their one wide receiver is?
Williams or whatever?
Williams. Yeah, he got hurt last game in like the third or fourth quarter.
Nice. I think the quarterback matchup is better for Jacksonville.
Really? I don't. I prefer Herbert, whatever, however you pronounce his name.
I prefer Lawrence.
Okay. Why I think Jacksonville wins this game is much better coach.
Also true.
Much better coach. Yes, Williams is hurt.
That's pretty stupid of them to do. And isn't Eckler still kind of like not 100%?
Let's see if he appears on the injury report. At least the one that's in front of me. He is not on the injury report in front of me.
Okay.
Williams is definitely ruled out. He suffered a fracture in his back.
Oh, that doesn't feel any good.
Probably not.
Might be bedbound because of that.
All right, over to the NFC. San Francisco and Seattle, the 2 versus the 7.
This will be the most boring game to watch.
Well, thankfully, it's the first game.
49ers.
I agree. 3 versus 6. New York Giants and Minnesota. You want me to go first?
Sure.
All right. So, this is why I'm taking Minnesota.
Okay.
They win close games.
Right.
This game is going to be close.
Right.
They don't lose close games. Looking at their, record this year in games decided by 7 points or less, 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, 5-0, 6-0, 7-0, 8-0, 9-0, 9-0. Games by 7 points or less. Their losses, which we've talked about, have been by 24, 11, 37, and 17. So when they lose by double digits. When they win, they typically win close. Their largest win this year was last week against Chicago, who was playing basically nobody. They won by 16. Other than that, they won by 3, 3, 5, 7, 3, 3, 8, 8, 7, 3, 4. Sorry, they won week 1 by 16 as well against Green Bay. They win close games. They know how to win these games. Playing in close games doesn't rattle them at all. My concern is it's not a 1 o'clock game. Because we know how typically Kirk Cousins plays when it's not 1 o'clock.
Right.
Now, would it surprise me if the Giants win this game? Not in the least. Not in the least. If for some reason this line goes up to 3.5 at any point, I will bet the Giants with my own money. But it's got to go to 3.5 for me to take them. I think the line is right about at where the final score is going to be, 3. So I will take Minnesota. Who do you got?
Who? Go! G-Men!
Woo! Our first disagreement.
G-Men are winning the game.
Okay.
They should have won the game on Christmas Eve.
They should have.
They will win this game.
So looking at the stats from that game, let's pull them up. The G-Men outrushed them by 43 yards and outpassed them by 49 yards, which isn't a surprise because Minnesota lost in the stats in a lot of games. And you're right, the Giants probably should have won that game. Not that we watched that game.
No.
Since we were chowing down on Christmas Eve.
True.
All right. And then the Monday night game, Tampa Bay and Dallas. You want me to go first again?
Up to you.
I was all set to take Dallas.
Yeah?
They're the better team. On paper, they're the better team. They really are the better team. But they don't win playoff games on the road. Tom Brady has never lost to Dallas. Dak has thrown at least 1 interception in his last 7 games.
That's not good.
That's not good. You don't want to do that in the playoffs. And in most of those games, either 3 or 4, he's thrown 2 interceptions.
That's worse.
That is very good. That's worse. Looking at the injury report, there's no skill players out for Tampa, so they're getting healthier. Kyle Rudolph is questionable. Their tight end. He was a really good tight end when he was in Minnesota back in the day. I mean, other than that, it's all like on the line.
Yeah, the problem is Tampa's got literal paper blocking for Leonard Fournette.
Right. Yes. So, looking at their stats, they've only gotten 100 yards rushing 3 times this year. Once was against Dallas in week 1, when they had 152 yards rushing. They had 161 against Seattle and then 115 against Arizona.
Arizona doesn't even count.
No. Tom Brady broke his own record this year for pass attempts. So he's passing the ball a lot because they don't have a run game. I'm taking Tampa. I really wanted to take Dallas this game because I would love to see a Dallas-Philly matchup in round 2 if it were to go my way. Now, with you taking if the Giants beat Minnesota, as long as Seattle doesn't beat San Fran, Giants go to Philly, no matter what happens in this game.
Right.
So, what do you have?
Well, you pretty much said what I said. Dallas doesn't win on the road. Tom Brady's never lost to them. Tom Brady's just a different man in the playoffs. Tampa will figure it out.
Tampa will figure it out. Okay.
Tampa wins the game.
All right. So we have agreement in the AFC and 2 disagreements in the NFC.
You pick Tampa.
Sorry, one disagreement. Yes, you're right. So let's stick with the AFC for round 2 since our matchups would be the same.
Right.
So the 1 versus the 4, Kansas City versus Jacksonville.
I have Kansas City, a close one. Kansas City wins by 2 or 3.
I would agree that Kansas City wins the game. I could see it either being close or being a blowout. If you would give me more than a touchdown, I will take Jacksonville in a bet. If you're only going to give me 4, I'll take Kansas City. I think the line, though, would be closer to 7 than 4. For
Probably.
Sure. For sure.
I tend to agree.
So I would take Kansas City as well. Now, I have a feeling we're going to disagree here. Cincinnati, Buffalo. I'll go. That's fine.
Okay.
You heard me say it a little earlier. The NFL has stacked the deck for Buffalo. If this game was in Cincinnati, I would love Cincinnati. When they played on Monday Night Football, you know, the game that got canceled, I bet Cincinnati in that game. Getting a point. I loved Cincinnati in that game. Loved them. The only thing that's different now is Buffalo would be the home team, and Buffalo is playing with a hell of a lot more emotion. They would win and cover against Cincinnati. If the game was in Cincinnati, I would feel much different. If the Cincinnati game played out the way I thought it would, Cincinnati beats Buffalo, Cincinnati has the number 2 seed, Buffalo has to come in, I would bet Cincinnati all over again. Buffalo wins this game and covers the field goal spread. And you're about to disagree with me.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Good. I like disagreements.
Buffalo is not going to win that game. In fact, Cincinnati's obviously going to cover because they'll be the underdog.
Obviously.
Cincinnati, this is why I think that Buffalo's going to lose. They're going to be playing with too much emotion.
Josh
This
says
is the team he almost died against.
Josh said he couldn't agree more. Don't know. I'm assuming he's talking about Tampa Bay Dallas.
If it was any other team, I would agree. This is the team Hamlin almost died against. They'll be too emotional.
Too emotional. Okay.
Since you'll be all business.
Business. Kind of like you are at the Waffle House. All business.
All business.
All business.
Other than Diggs, Cincinnati's got better receivers. Cincinnati has a better quarterback. And Joe Burrow knows how to get it done, unlike Josh Allen.
That's true. True statement. Cincinnati was the 4 seed last year and made it to the Super Bowl.
And Buffalo should have won the Super Bowl by this point, and they haven't. They haven't even been there.
They should have made the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah. They should have.
They should have never lost that game to Kansas City.
But they didn't. Cincinnati wins this game by 3 or more.
Okay. All right. Over to the NFC, and since we have different games, we'll do yours first. So you would have Philly against the New York Giants.
So this matchup's better. I think New York is better than Dallas. I do.
Okay.
I think New York's actually going to be winning this game for 3 quarters.
Okay.
And Philly's going to wake up. Because they have a much better offense. A.J. Brown's going to wake up. He'll probably catch 2 touchdowns in the 4th quarter. They'll cover the 6-point spread.
So,
but the Giants will be winning at the start of the 4th quarter.
I remember a game back in 2018 that was very similar. Giants were an underdog. Giants were up by like 20 at halftime, or 23. It was like 23-0 at halftime, or 23-3 at halftime. And it played out just like that. Philly ended up winning the game late with a good 4th quarter rally.
Was that the Christmas game?
No.
When Deshaun Jackson turned it?
No. Nope.
That was also not in 2018.
Nope. It was 2018.
Like 2014.
I remember right where I was watching that game. I was watching it with an Eagles fan.
So you heard, yes!
Who told me I get very loud and rowdy during these games. I'm like, okay.
You know what? Nobody can ever tell me they're loud and rowdy anymore because I've experienced a worse fan. At a basketball game! Who's on the board of trustees for Penn State? You're lucky I don't remember your name or I'd call you out.
How do you know that?
Because people at work know his dad, who owns the company, been working with Penn State for years, so they're pretty buddy-buddy, knows Patrick Kraft, who knows all the Board of Trustees guys. And he's been on the Board of Trustees forever. And, you know, they're drunk. They're the only ones that drink in the entire BJC because they don't sell alcohol. But they're drunk. And just whines and moans. Even we're up 20. Where's the foul? I literally told him to sit down one time. Sit down. We're up 20. It's not like we're down 5.
Yeah, so he's telling me this story. You know, they crush Indiana. They shoot like 60% from the 3-point arc, and this guy's complaining that they never shot a free throw during the game.
Like, what does it matter?
I mean, they hardly shot a shot from the paint to get fouled to go to the free throw line in the entire game.
To you, like, you don't shoot threes and get foul shots. You got to try to paint if you want some foul shot.
Right.
But back to football.
So you have Philly beating the Giants.
Yeah. They'll cover the 6 or 6.5 point spread.
Oh, really? So you have them going ahead late and covering.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns in the 4th quarter.
Interesting. All right. And then you have San Francisco and Tampa. Could this be a preview of where Tom Brady plays next year?
Yes. Because
Okay.
Tom Brady's going to be in a 49ers uniform next year.
Okay.
Or Aaron Rodgers is going to be in a 49ers uniform. I would actually probably sooner say Aaron Rodgers, a little younger. Probably a little more arm talent right now. Yeah. Whoever goes there, the 49ers will win the Super Bowl next year, barring injuries.
So the only thing that Brady has a better chance of there is his parents live in the Bay Area.
Well, Nancy Pelosi lives there too.
So he gets to be close to his mommy and daddy with his new squeeze. Apparently she's pretty hot. Apparently.
Gold digger.
All right. Who's going to win the game, though?
Tampa's got no chance.
Tampa's got no chance.
Their paper offensive line won't be able to protect Brady to even throw the ball.
So they did play once. This season.
Week 4?
No. Purdy was playing.
Oh.
When they played.
You know who won the game then?
Yeah, you know who won the game, that's for sure.
35-7
Yeah.
on December 11th.
Yeah, he blew him out.
I don't think Brock Purdy blew them out. Let me look. Yeah, he had 185 yards and 2 touchdowns, 16 for 21.
Yeah, they had 209 yards rushing.
Yeah. McCaffrey, 14 carries for 119 yards.
Yes.
With his long only being 38. So it's like he consistently broke a 20-yard run.
All right, so your NFC Championship game with them would be Philly and San Fran. Okay. So,
yeah, Chuck.
So I have Philly and Tampa Bay. I would love to take Tampa in this game. Love. And depending upon the injury situation, so that's the one thing like you really didn't cover is Philly's still a very injured team. Like supposedly Hurst was in a lot of pain in his shoulder area during last week's game. Is it going to heal in 2 weeks or not? Don't know. I'm not a medical doctor.
I'm not so sure. It matters for Philly, but it's not like Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love between Hurts and Minshew. Minshew is very capable of leading that team.
He is. He's very capable, but he's one-dimensional.
True.
Hurst could run and pass the ball.
If he's nursing an injury, he's not going to run it, though.
Well, in the playoffs, it's a little different.
Oh, he's gonna try not to get hit.
Right. Right. I'll take Philly, and San Francisco would absolutely destroy Minnesota, as I've been saying earlier. So I have the same NFC Championship game you do. In the AFC, you have Kansas City, Cincinnati. I have Kansas City, Buffalo. So let's start with the NFC since we have the same game. You already know who I'm picking.
You already know who I'm picking.
No, I don't. You took Philly with your third pick. I have no idea if you would have picked San Francisco if they were on the board. I have no idea.
I'll tell you right now. No.
Okay. So I have
San Francisco here. I'll tell you my rankings. I ranked them 1 through 14.
Yep.
I have San Francisco at 5.
Okay.
I have the Vikings at 11. If you wanted to know.
Actually, Sagarin has the Vikings at 15.
Wow, so I gave them more credit than they deserve.
Here's the Sagarin ratings for the 14 teams that are in the playoffs.
Wait, you just said 15.
Yeah, they're ranked 15th. So there's teams that didn't make the playoffs. They're ahead of them.
So Green Bay or Detroit's got to be ahead of them.
Both of them are.
Look.
Buffalo is 1. San Francisco is 2. Kansas City is 3. Cincinnati is 4. Dallas is 5. Philly is 6. Chargers is 7. Green Bay, who didn't make the playoffs, is 8th. Baltimore is 9th, but they're down to a third-string quarterback. Jacksonville is 10th. The Patriots are 11th. They didn't make the playoffs. The Steelers are 12th. They didn't make the playoffs.
The Patriots, Mac Jones is a piece of paper.
The Dolphins are 13th. The Lions, who didn't make the playoffs, are 14th. Minnesota is 15th. Tampa is 18th. The Giants are 22nd. And Seattle is 23rd.
I don't see how you put Green Bay number 8 when they were at home against the Lions to make the playoffs and they lost. Just saying.
Yeah.
But back to the NFC Championship game.
Yep.
I pick Philly because Brock Purdy's finally gonna choke.
Okay.
He's finally gonna choke on his balls that are dragging on the ground at this point. Because he led the 49ers to the NFC Championship game. And I'm not saying all of a sudden they're going to face a real defense, but they're finally going to face a real offense. And Brock Purdy's not going to be able to keep up with the 38 points Philly's going to score. As much as I hate saying that.
Okay. So, I'm just going to name some football teams here.
Okay.
Just going to name some. Detroit.
Yeah.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
Washington.
Yeah.
Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Arizona.
Okay.
Dallas.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh. Houston. Indianapolis. Green Bay. Tennessee. The Giants. The Bears. The Saints.
All the teams Philly beat by less than 10.
No, that's all the teams Philly played.
Oh, okay.
Is there any defense there that's even close to the caliber of San Francisco?
Give me 1 minute. Let me go look at their schedule.
I would say the best defense that's there would have been Tennessee.
I disagree.
I mean, Pittsburgh had a lot of injuries on their defense when they played. So that knocks them out. There's no other team that they played a good defense. None.
Wait. Jesus.
None. Zip. 0-0.
Wait. The Bears are the second best defense in the league.
No.
Yes, they do. Fine. Wait. Washington has the third best defense in the league.
No, they don't.
New Orleans has the sixth best defense in the league. All right, this one has Chicago as the fourth worst.
San Francisco averages giving up 77 yards on the ground.
They average 300 yards against a game. They're number one.
They are.
Philly averages 301 yards against a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, they average 77 yards on the ground, and Philly is 121.
Yeah.
They give up a lot more yards in the air.
Well, geez, I wonder why. So, which team in the NFL has the most double-digit victories this year?
Probably like Buffalo or Cincy.
San Francisco at 10.
Wow, really?
The next best team, there's like 3 or 4 teams at 7. So you want to know why San Francisco is giving up a lot of passing yards?
Hey, San Francisco and Philly's defenses are comparable. They're not exact. But San Francisco's offense and Philly's offense are not comparable.
There is no comparison between their two defenses.
Yes,
None.
there is. They're
None.
number 1 and number 2.
No. That's the rankings that you're looking at is based on yards given up per game.
And that's a fair way to look at it.
Let's see if we can find their DVOA, which takes into account all of their defensive statistics. Let's see if the site that it won't give me Phillies, it'll give me Jacksonville's. I mean San Fran.
This one has Philly at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
DVOA, obviously San Francisco has the number 1 defense and number 2 overall. So offense and defense rankings. So DVOA is an advanced metric system that people who know this stuff better than I know have come up with. DVOA ranking for Philly. Respectable at 6th.
Thank you.
By the way, when you said Chicago has number 2, their DVOA rankings is 32nd.
Hey, so San Francisco's also not traveling nearly 3,000 miles to come play in Philly and win. Not against that, best way to say this, asshole of a crowd. Because honestly, if you're a Philly fan, you're an ass. Of all probability, you're an ass. If you're a diehard Philly fan.
So is this only because... So if Jimmy G is the starting quarterback, are you flipping your pick?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're only taking San Francisco because you don't like the rookie quarterback going on the road in the playoffs.
No.
Okay. That's perfectly valid reasoning to me. Perfectly valid. I just happen to disagree. San Francisco will beat Philly. But I've been saying that for how many weeks now, so I can't change it.
You stop McCaffrey, you beat San Francisco.
Okay. In the AFC, you have Kansas City, Cincinnati. I have Kansas City, Buffalo. I'll start. The NFL did Kansas City no favors moving this game to a neutral site. Buffalo is going to the Super Bowl this year in a very high-scoring AFC Championship game. It'll be very different from the NFC Championship game. That game won't be high-scoring. This game will be high-scoring. I keep going up. First team to 85 wins.
Jeez.
Obviously, I'm joking. So I got Buffalo and San Francisco going to the Super Bowl. Obviously, I think I know where you're going. Maybe not.
Do you?
Maybe you're going to throw a curve and you're going to take Cincinnati, even though you took Kansas City as your first pick, fully thinking I wasn't going to take Cincinnati in my picks. So this will be interesting. Who are you picking?
The Bengals and the Chiefs played in the regular season.
That they did.
In Cincy. And Cincy won by 3. Mahomes had a pretty bad game. 220 yards, 1 touchdown. Burrow had nearly 300, 2 touchdowns. 152 rushing yards to 138. What is one big difference between the Bengals and Kansas City? They had 2 really big differences.
Well, Joe Burrow hasn't lost to Kansas City.
It's not really what I meant.
2 differences? 2 big differences?
Cincinnati has much better wide receiver.
They do, now that Tyreek Hill doesn't play for Kansas City. I would agree with that.
Kansas City has a much better tight end.
Oh, yes, obviously. Kansas City is the best tight end in the game.
Yeah. So, 3 receivers, 1 tight end. I rode with them last year.
You did.
As the 4th seed, all the way there. I'm going to take the Bengals.
I will say it. You told me Cincinnati was going to the Super Bowl.
I'll take the Bengals again.
Again? Wow.
The Chiefs are not going to figure out how to beat them. They can't. Joe Burrow's all business. He's going to get out that damn big cigar and he's going to put up his ass like last year. I think that's what I said.
Pretty much. Pretty much. I am impressed. We have a completely different Super Bowl match.
Yeah, that we always had one similar team.
Wow. Okay. Who's winning the Super Bowl? I'll go first, since I can't change what I've been saying for 4 months. As much as I think if I hadn't said it, I would take Buffalo in this game. But I can't change what I said. I gotta stick with what I said. I know San Francisco has had the easiest schedule. That scares the living shit out of me. I know this would be the first rookie quarterback to win the Super Bowl. But wouldn't it be interesting if the first rookie quarterback, you want to talk about a story. I mean, Buffalo with DeMar almost, dying on the field would be a great story if Buffalo wins the Super Bowl. That would be a great story. But also a really good story is if Purdy wins the Super Bowl. What pick was he?
The very last pick.
The very last pick in the NFL
Irrelevant.
draft. Mr. Irrelevant. What?
That would be funny is if they won and he was wearing a shirt under his jersey, and for the celebration he took off his jersey and said Mr. Irrelevant.
Mr. Irrelevant. Wouldn't that be something if Mr. Irrelevant would be the first rookie quarterback to win the Super Bowl?
That'd be something.
Boy, could you have gotten great odds on that at the beginning of the year.
You wouldn't have got odds.
That would be 10,000 to 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Cincinnati, Philly. Let me just start by saying, if that happens, I think that would be a pretty potentially high-scoring game.
And I have it as a fairly high-scoring game.
Okay.
But I'm going to go back to this receivers argument. The problem is now Philly can match the Cincy's receivers.
They can.
Oh, yeah. They can match them. But who's the better quarterback? Jalen Hurts or Joe Burrow?
They're both good. I would say at this point in their career, Joe Burrow is a little more than slightly better. And he has the experience of playing in the Super Bowl, which they could have easily won that game last year.
And what's that stat you like to bring up all the time?
We're not talking the one about white quarterbacks against. No. We're not. Joking.
Loses the Super Bowl, never makes the playoffs.
So yes, typically the team that loses the Super Bowl does not make the playoffs. This year it was flipped. The team that won the Super Bowl.
Unless you're Tom Brady.
Unless you're Tom Brady.
Well, the team that lost the Super Bowl not only made the playoffs, not only won the AFC, but won the Super Bowl. And it's not Tom Brady.
Yeah. Yep. And they started out 0-2.
38-31. Book it.
Book it, Dano. So let's write this down. So you have Cincy 38, Philly 31, and I have San Fran 31, Buffalo 29.
29.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going for 2 at some point, I guess.
Not necessarily.
It's a lot of field goals then.
Yeah. Or potentially missing an extra point somewhere.
5 field goals.
All right. This was good. This was good.
We're still not even almost done. We still got more things.
Right, but I'm saying this was good because we finally got different teams.
Yeah, in 2 years, I don't know if we've ever had completely different Super Bowl. We've always had the same Stanley Cup champion. We always have the same this, that, and this.
Yes. Well, I know we didn't have the same Super Bowl matchup last year because I didn't have Cincinnati.
Yeah, but I think we both had not Kansas City on.
We both had the Rams. I'm pretty sure I had the Rams.
I had Green Bay.
You did. Yes, you did. Yes.
Because I had Green Bay winning the whole thing because they probably should have won the whole thing. They're the best team.
All right, so on to our picks. Now, this isn't part of the Phatts Fantastic Five. That is done. I kicked the non-genetically proven son's ass this year.
No proof.
I mean, I could really go back and look at all the picks.
No proof.
So, we're going to take these games in order that they're being played, and I'm going to read a little write-up, and this write-up comes from Brad Powers for each game. So we're going to start with Seattle, San Francisco. I believe the line, can you look up the current line? I believe it's 9.5.
I'm just gonna go off whatever ESPN says.
Well, let's not do that. I'll use Barstool Sports.
Okay. On ESPN, it's 9.
Because Barstool Sports is obviously up to the moment.
Right.
Barstool, the line is 9.5 with an over-under of 42. All right, so this is what Brad says. San Francisco is 2-0 straight up and against the spread versus Seattle this year, winning by 27-7 at home and 21-13 on the road. The 49ers enter this game on a 10-game winning streak, 8-2 against the spread. San Francisco has the number 4 yards per play offense and number 4 yards per play defense, while DVOA, Advanced Analytics, ranks them number 2 overall, number 1 on defense. However, the 49ers have played one of the easiest schedules in the NFL. Quarterback Brock Purdy is the first quarterback to win his first 5 starts since Big Ben Roethlisberger did it in 2004. On the other side of the ball, the Seahawks won each of their final 2 games of the season and got help from Detroit. However, Seattle is just 1-7 against the spread in their last 8 games. Seattle ranks number 10 in yards per play margin and number 10 overall in DVOA. San Francisco was a perfect 6-0 straight up and against the spread versus the NFC West this year. Rain. Some rain is in the forecast. All right, so we are going to each make a pick in this game. And we're going to have one other pick. They're probably mostly going to be prop plays. So, I will go first. I'll give my pick, and then you can give your pick and your prop play, and then I'll give my prop play.
Kiana says she deserves some credit for the winning I did in Fast Fantastic.
She does. She does.
Yeah. About 12 of them.
So I'm going against the grain here, and I'm taking Seattle to keep it within single points. And it kind of flows down to that strength of schedule. Seattle is 24, San Francisco is 32. Now, on paper, San Francisco should blow them out.
Can't forget my winning record. Well, yeah, percentage-wise, you kicked both our butts.
San Francisco should absolutely blow them out.
Right.
But it's whether it's rainy and windy or whatever, it's going to be on some type of wet field. I think Seattle keeps it within. I'd love to be getting 10.5 here, but I'm only getting 9.5. So I'm going to take Seattle plus 9.5.
I'm taking the 49ers minus 9.5.
Okay. Which makes complete sense.
I struggle to see Seattle getting more than 14 points.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if the field is going to be wet. They're going to run the ball probably a little bit more, especially if it's windy. And that's where it's going to spell disaster.
Yeah.
If you get into a running contest, you're not going to beat McCaffrey. I'm sorry. And then Elijah Mitchell after that.
Yep. True. All right, and your extra play?
49ers, team total over 26.5.
49ers, team total over 26.5. An interesting play. Okay. Mine I have two prop plays that I really, really, really like. And this is one of them. George Kittle to have more than 3.5 receptions in this game. He's had more than 3.5 receptions in every game that Purdy has started. Seattle does not do a good job at covering the tight end. In fact, they do a crappy job at covering the tight end. If you go back to fantasy and look at how they've done, not good. Not good. They give up a lot of points to tight end. I'm taking George Kittle over 3.5 receptions. If I have like a 1 and 1A, this is like 1 and 1A for my props. All right, the second game. LA Chargers going to Jacksonville as the 5-4. Jacksonville is +2 at this moment with an over-under of 47.5. So here's Brad Powers' pick. Jacksonville did upset the Chargers 38-10 in LA back on September 25th. The Jags enter on a 5-game winning streak, 4-1 against the spread, and became just the 5th team to ever go from the worst record in the NFL to a division title. They rank number 9th in offensive yards per play and are actually number 8 overall in yards per play margin. However, Jacksonville did play one of the weaker schedules in the NFL this year. Meanwhile, the Chargers are 4-1 against the spread, are straight up 4-0-1 against the spread down the stretch. However, the Chargers were minus 0.6 in yards per play margin on the year for the season and did not play that strong of a schedule. The Chargers are 7-2 straight up on the road this year, 7-2 against the spread on the road this year, but we're not a big fan of head coach Brandon Staley, who deservedly took criticism for playing starters last week and seeing several of them go down with injuries, Mike Williams and potentially Joey Bosa. Okay. So, you give your pick here, and then I'll give my pick and my prop play, and then you can give your extra play.
I don't understand why Jacksonville is an underdog in this game.
Okay.
I think Jacksonville, they're 9-8. Whatever. But I think this is a 13-win team. Under the skin, let's look. They lost to the Texans. They lost to the Colts. They lost to the Giants. They lost to the Broncos. All in a row, by the way.
Yeah.
They probably could have beat the Eagles. They got crushed by the Lions, and then they've looked great ever since.
Mm-hmm. Beating who?
I think this team has the potential to be disgusting in a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
If they can keep the coach, keep Trevor Lawrence, and keep even like Zay Jones, who's come out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why they're an underdog. I really don't. I think they're better quarterback anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So I have them at 2.5 when I looked at it around 5 o'clock. So I have Jacksonville plus 2.5.
Okay.
I think they win the game outright.
Okay. I also think they win the game outright. The Chargers are 0-4 this year against teams that Sagarin has in the top 10. They have Jacksonville in the top 10. Huge coaching mismatch here. Huge. I'll take Doug Peterson over Staley any day of the week. Any day of the week. Any day. Jacksonville wins the game outright. My prop play, of all the prop plays, this is probably my least favorite. With Williams being out, I have Keenan Allen over 6.5 receptions. But I'm not a huge fan of it.
My prop play is kind of boring because it's not a prop play.
Okay.
But I thought this was low. I just want the game. I had the game to go over 47.5.
Okay. LA Chargers, Jack, over 47.5.
When I saw that under 50, I was like, I think that's kind of low. And I know it's boring, but it's
yeah, that's okay.
I think that's likely to hit.
Okay. All right, moving on to Buffalo, Miami. Miami went 2-0 against the spread versus Buffalo this season. The Dolphins upset Buffalo 21-19 at home and then couldn't hold on in a 32-29 loss on the road in December. Buffalo enters on a 7-game win streak. The Bills are number 3 in yards per play margin, while DVOA and Sagarin rank them number 1 overall. Meanwhile, Miami ranks number 5 in yards per play margin, while playing a top 5 most difficult schedule in the NFL this year. This was mainly due to an offense that averaged 6.1 yards per play. But Miami limps in with just a 1-5 straight-up record in their last 6. Buffalo got significant action in the market with the line going from 9.5 to 13 when Tua has been ruled out, and the Dolphins are preparing as if third-string rookie Skylar Thompson will get the start. With Buffalo defensive back DeMar Hamlin released from the hospital, we expect another supercharged atmosphere in Buffalo. I am taking Miami. Miami on paper should lose this game by 30. So I could understand nobody liking my pick.
I don't.
Why am I taking Miami? Because the stats say to take Miami. Other than that, I think I would love it that if it was the current line is, I believe, 13.5. 13.5. It's going to go up before game time. I'm not going to play this game. I'm not going to touch this game. I should be taking Buffalo, but I'm taking Miami. Go ahead.
I'm taking Buffalo because it's not over 14.
Mm-hmm.
I would have figured, knowing Skylar Thompson's going to be playing, this would be closer to 17. And it very well could be by game time.
It could be.
My only concern is, assuming everything, plays as they probably should, they could be thinking about Cincy. Maybe. But do pros really look ahead, especially in the playoffs?
I don't think. Obviously, not nearly as much in the playoffs than they do in the regular season. Obviously.
I mean, Miami should have lost last week. I can't believe the Jets, even with Joe Flacco, couldn't beat them. Like, the fact that you're Joe Flacco and you're, a 15-year veteran at this point, and you couldn't beat a rookie that's never played? Like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, if they win, we'd be talking about Buffalo and Pittsburgh.
And that would be a better game.
It would be.
Buffalo still would win, but I think Pittsburgh can give them a run.
Yeah.
For at least a little while. But I just struggle to see Miami scoring more than even like 10 in this game. Unless they get lucky and get like a long pass reception, break a couple tackles, whatever. I'm playing catch-up all game, so they're going to have to pass the ball a lot, and I think it's just going to give Josh Allen more time to score more.
Right. If Miami does get lucky enough to cover, it will be backdoor. For sure. All right, and your prop play for this game is?
This was surprising to me. Skylar Thompson to throw over a half interception.
Skylar over 1/2 INT.
I figured that was going to be 1.5.
I thought if there's any game that we have the same prop play, it would be this game. I have Josh Allen over 1.5 touchdown passes. All right. Minnesota, New York Giants. The current line is 3. Heavily weighted to the Giants. So that means it's closer to going to 2.5 than it is the 3.5. Brad Powers right up for this game. These two just met in Minnesota back on Christmas Eve with the Vikings winning 27-24 and a last-second 61-yard field goal. The Giants had a 7.1 to 5.2 yards per play edge in that game and were playing without a couple starters in the secondary. Both should be playing this week. We feel both teams are overrated, but especially the Vikings. Minnesota was an incredible 11-0 in one possession games this year. So that's including 8 points as a possession. That's how they get to 11-0. They are the first team in NFL history to win 12 or more games and have a negative point differential. The Vikings were negative 0.4 in yards per play margin, and DVOA ranks them number 27 overall. That doesn't add up to a team that boasts a 13-4 record. Meanwhile, the Giants were also negative 0.4 in yards per play margin. However, they play a slightly tougher schedule, and DVOA ranks them as 21. Unlike Minnesota, who enters off of a 1-4 against the spread run, the Giants have been undervalued at 13-4 against the spread. Best mark in the NFL. Your pick for this game. Obviously, you're taking the Giants because you have them winning this game.
Yeah, I like the Giants here.
Okay.
They kept it close on Christmas Eve, and I think they'll do it again. Just this time they'll get over the edge.
Okay. So for me, as I said earlier, I think this line is exactly where it's going to end up. I think Minnesota wins this game by 3. But since I have to make a pick, and I said it's going to be a 7-point game or less, so that gives me 1 and 2 on one side and 4, 5, 6 on the other side. So I'll take Minnesota laying the 3. If I had to guess, it's either going to be a 3 or 4 point game. My prop play, Saquon Barkley to score a touchdown of any kind.
What would you land for that?
Actually, not a ton. It is minus, but not a lot. Let's see here. Game touchdown. Not there. Touchdown score. Minus 132.
Oh, okay, that's not too bad.
No, it's not. That's not. My other one was thinking like Justin Jefferson. He's minus 122.
My prop play is a little boring. I have the game going under 48.
Okay.
I think it's a pretty defensive game. I think Saquon could have a big game here. It's going to be pretty much trying to lock up Jefferson. If they can hold him to under 100, I think that's where it goes under.
Okay. On to the next game. Cincinnati and Baltimore. The current line is 8.5 with an over-under of 40.5. Brad Powers says, the two teams split their 2 regular season meetings. They obviously just played last week with Cincinnati winning 27-16, but failing to cover an inflated 11.5 point closing line. It was the first time since Halloween that the Bengals hadn't covered a game, but many early week bettors still cashed their tickets when the line was less than 11. The Bengals are incredibly 12-2 against the spread in their last 14 games. Cincinnati surprisingly ranks just 13th in yard per play margin, but DVOA ranks them as number 5. Baltimore's full season stats are pretty good as they rank 10 in yards per play and 7 in DVOA. However, the Ravens limp into the game, losing 3 of their last 4. With Lamar Jackson in the lineup, their offense ranks 5 in DVOA. Without him, they rank 23rd. With their offense compromised, the under is on a 5-1 run in Baltimore games. This is the first time in franchise history that Baltimore has scored 17 or less in 6 straight games. Jackson is not expected to play, and in fact, he announced on his Instagram, I believe it was, or his Twitter, that he responded to a fan saying he wasn't playing. So, this was my hardest game to pick. I am reluctantly going with Cincinnati. Minus the 8.5. I think they kind of held back last week. My only concern is lately they've looked really good in the first half and have looked really bad in the second half. Like they almost lost on Christmas Eve.
Up 24-0 at half.
Yeah. And they realistically could have lost that game.
They should have lost that game. They didn't deserve to win that game.
And they were up comfortably in this game, and then they gave up points again in the second half. So, what do you think?
I am going to take the 8.5 from Baltimore. I think this game could be a little closer than some may think. I mean, Baltimore has some pretty class wide receivers, just Jackson doesn't throw to them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Baltimore may try to come in here, play on house money a little bit. Let's try to just take it to them and throw the ball a lot. So, do you want to do my prop play as well?
Yep.
So, thus, I think Burrow's going to throw the ball a lot. I have Burrow over 270.5 passing yards.
Burrow over 270.5 pass.
And even if they start to get a lead, I think Cincinnati, they want to make a statement. I think if you even winning 42-10 I think that could be a good goal for them I think blowing them out certainly gives you some more confidence than winning a struggling 21-10 kind of game.
That is true. That is true. I'm waiting for the webpage to upload. Let's see here. So my play, you just heard me say it. They're playing really good in the first half. I'm taking Cincinnati minus 3.5 in the first half. Kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
And last but not least, the Monday night game, Tampa at home against Dallas. Tampa is an underdog. Currently at, I believe it's 2.5.
That's what I have.
It is 2.5 with an over-under of 45.5. Brad Powers says the NFL saves arguably the best wildcard matchup for last, and it should get a monster rating for ABC/ESPN with Brady possible final game versus a polarizing Cowboys team. These two met back in Week 1 with Tampa winning 19-3 on the road. It was memorable in the fact that Dallas quarterback Prescott was injured during the game and missed several games afterwards. Tampa was an abysmal 2 for 12 against the spread in their last 14 games, and it was the first time in Tom Brady's starting career that his team had a losing record. Even though he is 45 years old, Brady has an NFL record 490 completions. The Bucs were very average in the stats with basically an even yards per play margin while ranking 17th in DVOA. Meanwhile, Dallas ranked number 7 in yards per play margin and number 6 overall in DVOA. Dak has not been playing well for the Cowboys with an interception in 7 straight games, and he threw a pick-6 in Dallas' pitiful effort last week. The Cowboys have not won a road playoff game in 30 years and are 0-7 versus Tom Brady. You start because I started the last one, so you start.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious how we're both going. We both picked Tampa to win the game outright.
We did.
So I have Tampa plus 2.5.
Yep. As do I. And I think it all has to do with,
Stats don't lie.
Yeah. I mean, on paper, Dallas is the better team.
On paper, Dallas can win this game by 10.
Yeah.
But look at Dallas last week. It's not like they were playing for nothing. They win, Giants win, they're the 1 seed or the 2 seed.
Yeah.
And you actually all of a sudden have a much easier road to the Super Bowl.
Yes.
So
my prop play, this is the other one that I really, 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 really like. Can you guess what this one is? In the last 7 games, Dak has thrown 11 interceptions. Dak to throw over 1/2 interception. And yours.
I have Tom Brady to throw over 1.5 passing touchdowns.
Brady over 1.5. So this
Passing
is
the ball a
cool.
lot. Got some good receivers.
Yeah. So this is cool. We don't even have the same plays there, too, for our props.
Woo!
Wow, this is different.
Go!
This is different. All right, ladies and gentlemen. This has been our NFL preview show. Thank you for those of you that stuck in for the full hour and 45 minutes. It's a long show for us, but we knew it was going to be. All right. So you guys have a fantastic week watching the NFL. And what does your sports schedule look like next week?
I have wrestling on Friday and Saturday. And I have something on Saturday and something on Sunday.
Okay. What time Saturday?
What time Saturday?
Is it
Is that
night?
Saturday, right? It might be hockey, so.
So it would be
Disposal.
late. All right. So our sports show next week might be
Wait, what?
Basketball at 2, hockey at 5.
Oh, basketball too.
and hockey at 5.
Yeah.
So we might do maybe like an 11 o'clock Saturday morning show.
Yeah, that could
We'll
work.
be able to do that. So we definitely will not do a sports show next Friday because you got a hockey. 'Cause you're
Penn State, Michigan wrestling.
Penn State, Michigan wrestling. Oh, I'll be watching that on TV because I'm sure that'll be on Big Ten Network.
That could even be on FS1, to be honest.
Okay.
The week after will be on FS1, potentially Penn State, Iowa.
Yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. We will see you if we do a Tuesday political show. I got lots to talk about on that.
He's going to go off on this one.
All right, everybody, have a safe, happy, and healthy weekend. We will see you next week. Wave goodbye to the fine folks. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. I'm hungry. I'm going to eat. I'm fat. Goodbye.